Part 66. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 651. Chapter 651 Afraid of hurting him. Baby, go to bed quickly, mother puts the baby to sleep. The baby is so good. Mrsya went to see Suhui personally and saw her hugging a pillow and talking to her after she woke up. She was talking about coaxing a baby, as if she was treating the pillow as her own newborn child. Mrsya and Yahantian both found it unbelievable that Suhui could not bear the blow so much. At this time, the doctor's diagnosis was, the patient fell from a high altitude and his nerves were damaged. Although he saved his life after falling from a building with more than 10 floors is very harmful to the human body. Suhui suffered from brain damage and became mentally disturbed. Before she fell, all she cared about was her daughter, so now she regards the pillow as her daughter and lives in her own world. After the press conference, there were many fewer reporters in the hospital. Although the story Yahantian weaved was very popular and bloody, under the pressure of his Ye group and other families, the heat on Suhui's fall from the building has been reduced a lot. Yes group's shares were indeed affected, but their industries are not just in City S, so overall they have not been hit hard. Yezikin, who was far away in G City, closed his laptop because he had just finished reading various reports about the press conference. Although he is not in S City, he has been paying attention to the news about his parents. No matter how bad the Ye family may be to the outside world, they are always his blood relatives. Ye Wei walked in with a plate of diced and sliced fruits, placed it at the table, and sat opposite Yezikin. She handed the fork to Yezikin, and at the same time she also saw the white gauze in Yezikin's hand that could not be ignored. The only thing at night is still worry. Brother, it's been a week, can't you still remove the gauze? The weather hasn't been hot recently, so wearing it will prevent infection. A long knife scratch will not heal in just a few days. Ye Wei immediately ran out to get the medical kit to change his dressing. Yezikin stretched out his injured left hand directly. Now the dressing change does not affect the wound much, and there is no pain. But Ye Wei still looked cautious, for fear of hurting him. I think the matter in S City is about to be resolved. Ye Wei seemed to inadvertently bring up the matter about the Ye family and his wife. Yezikin did not hide anything from her, so he told the truth, it's settled. I know you want to bring down the Ye family, and I must protect the Ye family. The helplessness of the two people is not that they are entangled in hatred, but that they know each other's thoughts clearly, and because they know each other so well, they feel more heartbroken. As the son of the Ye family, Yezikin can protect Ye Wei, but he cannot help Ye Wei return his family. This has nothing to do with justice, it's just personal feelings. Then let's not interfere in each other's affairs for a while, and don't tell each other anything except what's between the two of us. Are you making terms with me? No, we have different positions and cannot make plans. If you tell the other person about yourself wholeheartedly, it will be very confusing for both of you to act, which is very inconvenient. The agreement they made is very good. Let's talk about the follow-up to the Suhui incident in City S. After Suhui's health improved, Yahantian still had some conscience and sent Suhui to a better mental hospital and asked the doctors there to take good care of her. Seeing that Suhui was crazy, Mrsya no longer clung to the past things, as long as it was to maintain her image in front of others. At this moment, Ye Wei started to deal with Yahantian, but Madame Ye was thinking about how to deal with Ye Wei. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 652. Chapter 652 Blind Date. Mrsya thought about it, but she couldn't persuade Yezikin, so she had no choice but to take advantage of Yezikin's stay in S City to bring a young lady in her late 20s to meet with Yezikin. Chenur, this is Miss Liu. Mrsya really didn't conceal her purpose this time. She made a few simple introductions as soon as she arrived, and then left the communication space to the two young people. When Miss Lu was shy, Yezikin frowned. He had no intention of chatting with that Miss Lu across the street, and he turned a blind eye to what Miss Lu expressed. At this time, suddenly a young woman with good temperament and good looks walked over, stretched out one hand, and knocked twice on the table. "Excuse me." As soon as Ms. Lu looked up, she saw a beauty standing beside her. With a woman's intuition, Miss Lu felt the pressure. Ms. Lu then asked tentatively, "Who are you, miss?" The beauty tilted her head slightly and smiled. Yezikin stood up like a gentleman and briefly explained his identity. "My friend, Bai Yunruo." Definition of friend status. Bai Yunruo nodded in agreement. "Hello, my name is Bai Junruo, and I am Yezikin's friend." Bai Yunruo is not as strong as a strong woman, but she has that unique temperament that directly compares to the so-called Lady Lu. Before she said a few words, Miss Lu felt so ashamed that she found an excuse to leave. Bai Junruo waved his hand and sat calmly opposite Yezikin. Yezikin had nothing to talk to her about, and simply said two words, "More." Bai Junruo nodded politely, which was regarded as accepting his thanks. "In terms of age, you are 2 years younger than me, but your family is urging you to go on a blind date." The word blind date is really inappropriate to use with Yezikin. There is always a lack of suitors around a man like this who has his own aura and infinite charm, but 9 times out of 10, none of them have the courage. After all, how many people are confident that they can win the sincerity of such a man? "Master, yeah, I'll help you this time. You won't be so lucky to meet me next time, so what are your plans?" No need for help. He didn't care what those women would think. Bai Junruo's appearance was a coincidence, not that Yezikin deliberately found her to be a better girlfriend candidate. When Bai Junruo heard his rude words, he was not angry, but chuckled. This is Yezikin. He will never go against his will at all if he says anything to anyone. Bai Junruo's trip was for business, so he helped Yezikin solve a problem without really asking him to thank him. After a few polite conversations between the two, Bai Yunruo stopped staying. As he left, he glanced to the left and left a message, "Master Ye, I wish you good luck." On the left, it is Mrs. Ye who stayed here to observe. Mrs. Ye had made clear hints to Yezikin many times, hoping that he would return to S City to join the Ye group and gradually take over the company. But Yezikin stuck to his plan and stayed in G City to develop in recent years. Yezikin did handle the affairs in G City very well, but Madame Ye knew that these were just excuses, and Yezikin must have stayed there for Ye Wei. So Mrs. Ye wanted to try to find someone to distract Yezikin. It turns out that Li Mo's well-behaved type is not liked by Yezikin, so this time she found a quiet lady, who didn't expect her to be as good as the young woman who suddenly appeared. "Chenur, is that girl just now your friend?" Bai Junruo's identity is related to this book. You can't guess it? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 653. Chapter 653. She is using you. A friend. Hearing Yezikin's explanation, Mrs. Ye was very happy. "Chenur, I see that you are a very good friend. I will bring you home sometime and introduce us to each other." Mrs. Ye was thinking about what she wanted. She felt that a girl whom Yezikin could call a friend must be something special. However, Yezikin did not follow her wishes. Tapping his fingers on the table, Yezikin chuckled and rejected Madame Ye's words, "I think my relationship with her is not familiar enough to take her home." Mrs. Ye's expression froze, but she followed Yezikin's wishes and said, "There's no rush. You guys can develop well. Mom will like that girl as soon as she sees her, or she may be related to our family." There is always something hidden behind the words, and anyone with a discerning eye will know what he means. Yezikin is a somewhat dull person, and he doesn't want to explain more once he has made it clear. In short, he told Madame Ye very bluntly, "Mom, if it is this useless arrangement next time, there is no need to call me again." The implication is that if he goes to meet other women in the name of mother and son next time, he will not come again. After hearing this, Mrs. Ye turned her face away and said, "Everything Mom did was for your own good. From the beginning to the end, I was very clear about what I wanted. He was very clear about his goals and worked hard towards them." Yezikin repeatedly violated Madame Ye's wishes, causing the anger accumulated in her heart to burn. Madame Ye asked in turn, "What do you want? Do you want Jiaoling? Don't forget that there is a lot of hatred between you and her. I admit that you have a good relationship, but you don't want to think about it when she is with you. Is there really no barrier at all?" At this point, Madame Ye's voice became stern. "I already know about the last time the access card was deducted. She took the card you gave her and sent people to the database. Who knows what shameful things they are going to do? They are all taking advantage of it. Don't you understand yet?" Yezikin seemed particularly calm in response to Mrs. Ye's conflicting words. He did not explain too much, but firmly told Madame Ye, "I believe her. I see you are completely fascinated by that little vixen." Mrs. Ye was filled with resentment, but she had to restrain her emotions and tone of voice. "Hands down those words," picks up the bag and leaves. Yezikin looked calm. How could he not know those things that Ye only asked Pei Yuchen to do, but since he took the initiative to hand the card to her, it was her choice to do whatever she would do with it. Once, he deliberately trapped Ye Wei in a small world when she was still young. Now, the girl whose wings are getting fuller is about to compete with him. The cycle of cause and effect, he has no complaints or regrets. "Call the waiter to pay the bill." The waiter told him that a certain gentleman at the next table had already paid. Yezikin naturally did not take advantage of others. Under the guidance of the waiter, he found the person who was paying the bill. He was a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s or 50s. Before Yezikin could speak, the man stood up and asked him to take a seat with the politeness of his age. "Young man, how about sitting down and having another drink? Is something wrong? I want to ask you something." Yezikin looked calm, hesitated for a moment, and then sat down opposite. "I know you. There are many people who know me. The implication is that you are not outstanding. Some people's communication is not limited to etiquette of age and generation, such as these two people. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mosi Yezikin. I'm going back to school for exams on Chinese Valentine's Day. I'm so nervous." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 654. Chapter 654, Taking a Paternity Test. Mosi looked at Yezikin. This young man has extraordinary demeanor and a composure beyond his peers. Mosi was the first to speak. "I know you. The press conference held by your Ye group not long ago caused a sensation in the entire city. Since it was before, why bother mentioning it again?" Yezikin raised the topic without any hesitation. "What's the value of paying the bill just for this boring question?" Mosi denied, "No, what I want to ask has nothing to do with interests. I'm just curious about your relationship with that girl from the Chiao family. Even though they have deep hatred, they still feel sympathy for each other." Yezikin asked calmly, "In what capacity does Mr. Mo want to know about my relationship with her?" The last time Mosi left the Chiao family, he had met Yezikin. "I heard Ye Wei say that Mosi and Chiao had always been friends for years, so it would not be surprising even if they knew about the grudges between the Chiao family and the Ye family. The status that can be considered is that of an elder. But Mosi did not regard himself as an elder. He just said, we met by chance and was curious about fate." Mosi's fate. Regardless of age or status, he only recognizes the word fate when looking at people and doing things. It's as if he thinks that he has never met a suitable wife, so he would rather be single. At the moment, he is just curious about the relationship between Yezikin and Xiaoling. Everyone has their own choice. When you meet the person you want to protect, you will naturally be reluctant to let go. It's such a shame, I've never experienced this feeling. I said, everyone has their own choice. Mosi understands. Say the same thing twice, but it has different meanings. The first time was when Yezikin told Mosi that he wanted to protect Ye Weiwei and could not let go of each other, so they cherished each other. The second time was to emphasize that Mosi did not feel this feeling and it was because he did not want to. Everyone is right. Mosi didn't ask any more questions and just said, the value of this bill is enough. The two of them were just acquaintances, and Yezikin also paid for Mosi when he left. The price may not be the same, but the value is equivalent. Mosi thinks that this young man is neither arrogant nor impetuous, nor arrogant, nor humble. He is indeed interesting. Mosi accidentally talked about Yezikin during the conversation with Pei Yuchen. Pei Yuchen didn't expect that Mosi admired Yezikin so much. Pei Yuchen deliberately brought Mosi to see Mrsya last time. He wanted to see if they were special, but the two of them really didn't know each other. Just when Pei Yuchen was about to put aside his vague speculation, Mosi actually met Yezikin. He wanted to use Yehantian's hair to do a paternity test with Yezikin's, or maybe use Yehantian and Mosi to do a paternity test. Pei Yuchen can easily get close to Mosi, but what should he do if he wants to obtain Yezikin's hair without everyone knowing? The simplest thing is to ask Ye Yuyi for help, but Ye Yuyi will definitely have doubts. This unfounded matter was so ridiculous that he could not reveal it to anyone for the time being. Taking advantage of Ye Weiwei's time to return to S City, Pei Yuchen planned a meal and found an excuse to deliver the information to her in person. He also used this opportunity to enter Ye Weiwei and Yezikin's apartment in S City. He didn't know the layout of Yezikin's rooms, and he shamelessly asked for water, delaying his stay in the apartment. Ye Weiwei invited him to stay for dinner as expected. The only time Pei Yuchen went into the kitchen that night was to take action. The room where you lived should leave traces of it. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 655. Chapter 655. It's impossible to get married. But Pei Yuchen guessed wrong. Yezikin's room is so clean. Let alone hair, there is no dust even if you touch your hands. Pei Yuchen's plan failed. Now that he has made up his mind, he still has plan B, which is to find an opportunity to strike when he is face to face with Yezikin. Pei Yuchen stayed in the apartment to have dinner. At 6 o'clock, Yezikin had also returned from Yes Group. The natural and intimate interaction between Ye Weiwei and Yezikin was very annoying to Pei Yuchen. He was not willing to stay here before, but now, Pei Yuchen comforted himself and endured the humiliation. Yezikin and Pei Yuchen looked at each other with disgust and tried to avoid communication. That night Zikin and Pei Yuchen sat at one end of the sofa, and Pei Yuchen took a few glances out of the corner of his eye. He, a man in his 20s, secretly stared at a young man in his early 20s. It was really embarrassing. Pei Yuchen must take action tonight, because the doubts in his heart have now grown from a small point. The verification of identity cannot be delayed. Pei Yuchen used the excuse of going to the toilet to go around behind the sofa. He deliberately threw something, stepped on it and fell, and was about to rush towards Yezikin with the help of his strength. Yezikin dodged quickly. Assistant Pei, be careful. Pei Yuchen coughed awkwardly, and then did not dare to act rashly. Pei Yuchen and Yezikin are always at odds with each other. It would be really difficult to get close to Yezikin now. 3 plans failed, and Pei Yuchen still couldn't get anything related to Yezikin. As time goes by, there is also the progress of Yewi's revenge. If you don't enter the tiger's den, you won't get the tiger's cubs. After she expressed her determination to pay Yuchen, she entered the Ye group again. She can walk here without any obstruction, but what she is looking for is like finding a needle in a haystack. She checked Ye Hantian's itinerary until he was on a business trip in the past 2 days, so she took the opportunity to sneak into the office to look for it. But before she could walk in and take action, she was suddenly pulled away by a pair of hands reaching out from behind. She reflexively struck back with her elbow, but someone pinched her arm, and then she heard a voice above her head, "What you want is not here. Brother, you." Looking back at Yezikin, the next words seemed to be stuck in his throat and he couldn't say them. But Yezikin told her so clearly, "There is nothing you are looking for here. You know what I'm looking for." No, in fact, he knew exactly what Ye wanted to do, which was indulgence and tolerance. And why would he know? Because, Ye Wei was like a piece of white paper in front of him, and he could see clearly even if it was slightly stained with ink. Your inability to keep calm in front of me is your greatest weakness. Brushing his hand away, Ye Wei sighed deeply, "Who is letting whom when we are like this? You know my every move, but you can't stop my thoughts. It's impossible to change what I've decided, but if I continue like this, it will never end." Then it will never end. Yezikin said this sincerely and was not joking. He would rather this go on endlessly. But Ye Wei could also tell him clearly, if this matter goes away, it will be impossible for us to have a clear relationship. Even if they are together, they cannot get married, just like what Grandma Chiao left before she died. If it's not here, I'll keep looking. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 656. Chapter 656. Jiao Li saw the crescent moon around Moc's waist. Chiao, your uncle Mosi had a car accident. Please go to the hospital for me to say hello. I'm on my way there. That night, Ye Wei received a call from Mr. Chiao. During the call, Mr. Chiao sounded anxious. Uncle Mosi had a car accident. Mosi has a very good personal relationship with her grandfather, so she should visit him on his behalf. Ye Wei did not hesitate to accept the matter and rushed to the hospital to visit. It is said that the cause of the accident was that a naughty child suddenly rushed out while Mosi was driving on the road. Mosi suddenly braked, but he did not expect that the driver behind him was a novice on the road. Seeing that the two cars were about to collide, Mosi responded accordingly, but in the end it was inevitable that something would happen. Moc's injury was not serious, but it is said that his waist slipped. When Ye Wei went in, he saw Mosi lying on the bed. He was fine. Ye Wei breathed a sigh of relief. Uncle Mosi, Grandpa was worried when I heard you had a car accident. Your grandfather is just worrying. That's not because Grandpa regards Uncle Mosi as a true friend. After several conversations, I discovered that Mosi is not gentle and polite to everyone, but he always treats people he likes regardless of their personality or age. Ye Wei has no pressure to communicate with such elders. Even though they have only known each other for a short time, their relationship can develop by leaps and bounds. She planned her itinerary and came to the hospital early the next morning, firstly to pay attention to Moc's condition, and secondly to wait for Mr. Chiao to arrive. It took Mr. Chiao a lot of time to come from country M, and he just caught up now. The grandfather and grandson met coincidentally at the entrance of the hospital, and Ye Wei was able to lead Mr. Chiao to Moc's ward along the way. Because Mr. Chiao was worried about his friends, he pushed the door open and entered without any formality. Just in time, he bumped into a nurse and turned Mosi over. The back of the hospital gown was pulled up. Ye Wei just turned his head inadvertently and saw a crescent-shaped mark on Moc's waist. Meniscus shape. Correct. The crescent birthmark she saw on Yezikin seemed to look like this. Is she dazzled? Ye Wei stared at Moc's waist, frowning slightly. In a blink of an eye, Mr. Chiao saw his granddaughter staring at Mosi, and he quickly waved his hand to interrupt her gaze. What are you looking at, Chiao Chiao? Oh, I heard that Uncle Mosi suffered a serious waist injury in the car accident. I'm worried about whether there will be any problems. Neither Chiao Lao nor Mosi had any doubts about Yes' only explanation. It was Mosi who waved his hands calmly and said, "It's okay, I'm fine." Ye Wei pulled a smile at the corner of his mouth and said, "Uncle Mosi, just be fine. Grandpa is very worried about you." Chiao Chiao left first while your friends were talking. Children are not allowed to listen to adults' matters. In fact, after Ye Wei went out, he pressed his hands on the door, leaned back, and exhaled heavily. Crescent moon. She even wondered if she had been dazzled. Perhaps it was because there was some mark on Moc's injury, and it happened to be in the same position as the crescent moon birthmark on Yezikin's body, that she mistakenly thought it was the crescent moon mark. How so? It was really a confusing matter, and she didn't know how to verify it. You can't take off Moc's clothes and take a look, right? Correct. She suddenly remembered that although she was embarrassed to directly ask about the marks on Moc's waist, she could look at them quietly when the nurse turned him over and changed his dressing. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 657. Chapter 657 The relationship between Mosi and Yezikin. When the nurse was about to go in again to apply medicine on Mosi and turn him over, Ye Wei called him over again. After a while, a tall woman wearing a nurse's uniform, a nurse's hat and a blue mask entered Mosi's ward with medicine. This man, with only one pair of eyes exposed from head to tail, is the only one in the night. Yezi is Alian Jiazi, and he has enough strength to turn someone over. But her main purpose was to use the opportunity of applying the medicine to see clearly whether the crescent moon on Moc's waist was really a crescent moon, or whether there was no trace at all. Ye Wei opened Moc's hospital gown and applied medicine to Mosi according to the instructions of the nurse just now. At the same time, she opened the clothes around Moc's waist, and sure enough, she saw a crescent moon mark on it, which was almost exactly the same as the one on Yezikin. Ye Wei was so amazed that he almost knocked over the medicine in his hand. Finally, pretending to be calm and applying the medicine, she walked out without hesitation and took off her disguise. How so? Why does Mosi have such a mark on his body, the same birthmark as Yezikin? If they were all birthmarks, would two unrelated people have exactly the same birthmarks? It's too incredible. And it seemed that she was the only one who looked at Yezikin's body and accidentally discovered the birthmark on Moc's waist. So far she is the only one who knows about this. But why is this happening? In the past 2 days, Ye Wei ran to the hospital very diligently. She took the opportunity to take out the newspaper that reported on the Ye family, and asked as if casually, but in fact she was insinuating, "Uncle Mosi, do you know anyone from the Ye family? The Ye family that has a grudge against your Chiao family?" "Yes, I wonder if Uncle Mosi often interacts with businessmen and knows that Ye family." Mosi shook his head, "I don't know." Moc's reply was very natural, and there was nothing special about his words or expressions. Ye Wei lowered his head and pretended to read the newspaper, sighing secretly. What is she suspecting? Or hope something will be revealed? Mrs. Ye really likes Ye Hantian, and it is impossible for her to cheat and betray her. Moreover, according to the character of the Ye family couple, she cultivated Yezikin because he is the only son and the only legal heir of the Ye family. Yezikin is the biological son of Ye Hantian and Madame Ye. This is definitely true. Just when Ye Wei lowered his head in thought, Mosi casually mentioned it again. Why do you and Yi Chen keep talking about the Ye family recently? And every time he was asked if he knew those people from the Ye family. The real grudge against the Ye family is that the Chiao family wants to eat, sleep, and play beans with him. What does it matter? Mosi just mentioned it casually, but Ye Wei caught the key point from it. Uncle Mosi, are you saying that Assistant Pei often talks about the Ye family to you? That's not the case. Okay. Ye Wei thought that these methods were of no use. Until she filtered everything through the noise, she suddenly remembered. Last time, Li Moer injured Yezikin. When she was applying medicine to Yezikin, Pei Yuchen also showed an unexpected expression. Ye Wei put his finger lightly to his mouth. Pei Yuchen and Mosi are already familiar with each other, so will he also discover that they have something in common? Thinking about it this way, Pei Yuchen's unusual behavior later was reasonably explained. Wei contacted Pei Yuchen with a serious expression. Pei Yuchen, I have something I want to talk to you about. I have an exam tomorrow, wish me immediate success. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 658. Chapter 658, 3 Paternity Tests. The only time she met Pei Yuchen that night, she asked directly, you know, the crescent moon birthmark, right? The problems that are caught off guard make it difficult to cover up or hide. Pei Yuchen showed a shocked expression, the corners of his mouth trembled and he was speechless for a moment. Ye Wei is very satisfied with his current reaction. It's true, it's not false at all. Ye Wei, it seems you know. Miss, you too, did you see it? Ye Wei nodded and admitted frankly, I saw that the mark on Uncle Moc's waist is the same as the one on Yezikin. Ye Wei still knows a little about Pei Yuchen, and if he has any doubts, he will get to the bottom of it. Pei Yuchen, since we all know about this matter, just tell us what you found. There is no need to hide things that she knows well, but she wonders if Pei Yuchen has discovered the things that she is confused about. Pei Yuchen looked at her deeply, then shook his head. No, Mosi has nothing to do with the Ye family in reality. Hearing this, Ye Wei frowned. Is it really just a coincidence? Ahem. I have some guesses, but they haven't been verified and I can't say anything casually. Pei Yuchen still chose to tell her. As long as Ye Wei is willing to help, they can immediately get Yezikin's hair for verification. Tell me, what do you want to do? Take the hair of Yezikin and Mr. Mosi for appraisal. No, once this identification is made, if any unexpected truth is discovered, it really is. Ye Wei fell into deep thought. Pei Yuchen is not worried that Ye Wei is unwilling to help. He can also say frankly, Miss, you should be very happy. If Yezikin has nothing to do with the Ye family, then the grievances you have been entangled with before will no longer exist. At that time, they can be together without any scruples. No one or any hatred will restrain them. Ye Wei subconsciously clenched his fists and murmured in a low voice, you are right. If Yezikin was not a child of the Ye family, then there would be no hatred between them. I'll go get what you want, see you tomorrow. Ye Wei picked up her bag and waved goodbye to Pei Yuchen. Back home, Yezikin's hair was taken away without anyone noticing. It was easy for her to get this thing. The next day, when she and Pei Yuchen arrived at the agreed place and took out the Ziploc bag containing the hair and handed it to Pei Yuchen, she retracted her hand. Pei Yuchen looked at her doubtfully. Ye Wei pursed his lips and handed the thing in his hand over again. Here you go, be sure to get the most accurate results. The only thing Ye gave him was more than one hair strand, hoping that Pei Yuchen could use it to verify it a few more times. Ye Wei thought for a while and said, if possible, I will try to get Ye Hantian and do another appraisal then. For the unexpected discovery of a crescent birthmark, she had to make sure nothing went wrong. Pei Yuchen chuckled, if possible, of course I would be willing to verify it a few more times. Because the result of this appraisal is very important to Yejia or MOSI. Ye Wei nodded. Pei Yuchen divided Yezikin's and MOC's things into 3 parts and sent them to different hospitals. One part was even sent abroad for evaluation. 3 days later. It's time for the identification results to come out. Pei Yuchen has been waiting for the hospital to contact him since the morning to get the test results. Ye Wei also called twice to ask. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 659. Chapter 659. I miss you very much. But something bad happened. Sir, I'm sorry, your identification was accidentally taken by another patient. Our hospital is now tracing it. When people from the hospital called Pei Yuchen specifically to apologize, Pei Yuchen really wanted to go to the hospital and report these people immediately. Even if you can get something as important as the appraisal form wrong, how can the appraisal result be trusted? Fortunately, he still has 2 hospitals waiting for the results. At noon, Pei Yuchen received a contact from the 2nd hospital. Sir, the results of the test you want to test have come out. If possible, please come to the hospital to pick them up as soon as possible. The person who sent the test specimen must come in person. Comparing this hospital with the previous one, it is clear at a glance who is better and who is more trustworthy. Pei Yuchen drove himself to the hospital to get the results. When he got the results after going through several procedures, his heart was like boiling water, and he couldn't calm down at all. His hand had already touched the opening of the envelope. He hesitated for a long time before putting it down. Pei Yuchen took the identification result home and did not open it himself. Instead, he asked Ye Wei to come over in person. Ye Wei learned that the results were out and couldn't wait to know the answer. But just as she was about to go out, she met Yezikin coming towards her. You want to go out? Brother, why are you back? As soon as the 2 saw each other, they asked different questions at the same time. At this time, Yezikin should not appear here. Yezikin explained calmly, come back and get a document. Documents? Did you forget to take them? Ye Wei put down his outing shoes and turned around to walk back. If you drop something, you can ask me to get it for you. Why do you need to go there yourself? Ye Wei was talking and taking action at the same time, wanting to go back and find something for him. Thin and broken sounds spread out in the hall one after another, and Ye Wei suddenly felt someone hugging his waist. The man lowered his head and approached her neck, and his gentle voice filled her heart, I just want to see you. Ye Wei held back a smile and asked, do you want to see me when you come back now? The gentle breath of his nose spread on his neck, and Ye Wei finally couldn't hold back his smile, I didn't know you were so clingy, brother. It's not clingy, it's just, do whatever you want. And the direction he followed was Ye Wei, so he wanted to see her. The greasy love words came, and such a man was terrible. However, it happened to come from Yezikin's mouth, and she didn't feel it was false at all. Then you might as well say that you should always take me with you. I really want to, but in that case, you will be bored. I like you to be happy and free without restraint, and I will do it myself. Oh. Yezikin said these words without any preparation and did as he pleased. But every word weighed heavily on Ye's heart. In fact, no matter whether Yezikin is a child of the Ye family or not, she is not willing to give up such an outstanding person, is she? Then, it seems that the results of the appraisal are not that urgent to know. At least, she would not get the appraisal results until she helped Yezikin get the document. Ye Wei just secretly sent a text message to Pei Yuchen. Assistant Pei, just look at the results. I can't go there for the time being, so just send me the results. Pei Yuchen received the text message from Ye Weiwei and opened the seal of the result book without asking the reason. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 660. Chapter 660 MRS President. After reading the identification results, Pei Yuchen took a photo of the important results on the last page and sent them to Ye Weiwei. The message was sent, but Ye Weiwei didn't have time to read it, so she put it aside for the time being. That day, she went to Yes Group with Yezikin. Yehantian is still on a business trip and has not returned, so she has no way to get Yehantian's hair. I'll go take care of things. You can rest here for now. If you need anything, call the secretary. Okay, I know. Ye Weiwei followed Yezikin into Yes Group at will, which inevitably aroused objections from the company's employees. Yes Group covers a wide range of areas, and the company's employees change almost every day, so not everyone knows Ye Weiwei. The last time she appeared with Yehantian, this time she appeared with Yezikin, and being seen by others has already made people imagine. Last time you speculated about the relationship between Miss Jiao and the chairman, this time she came with Mr. Chen. Since Yezikin has officially been involved in the company's business, their name for Yezikin has changed. In order to distinguish Yezikin from Yehantian, the company's employees call Yezikin Mr. Chen. Of course, this title is not the point. The point is that the young girl named Jiao Ling has a close relationship with the company's leaders and successors. They directly denied the idea that Jiao Ling was Yehantian's lover. In contrast, it is more credible to say that Jiao Li is Yezikin's girlfriend. Have you ever heard of the famous Jiao family in S City? Someone in the gossip raised the issue of identity. Everyone thought about it and shook their heads. It seems not. I haven't heard of it either. The Jiao family, which has a glorious history, only existed more than 10 years ago. Of course, young people like them who came out recently did not know it. And even if they knew it, it would be impossible for them to connect the young and beautiful Jiao Lian with the down and out Jiao family. Some of the more honest people only felt envious. If that Miss Jiao Ling is really Mr. Chen's girlfriend, then we have to be more polite when we see her in the future. She might be the CEO's wife. But some ambitious people are unwilling to admit it and want to find reasons and excuses to refute. What are you talking about? The heir of the Ye family must pay attention to being well matched when getting married. You all said that there is no rich family named Jiao, maybe it's just a matter of appearance. A vase for eating. These words are so sour. Anyone who listened could feel the resentment in her tone. But the next second, the people who were gathered together quickly dispersed in all directions. The jealous person was unaware of the approaching danger. She was unreasonable and unforgiving. I have nothing to do with the chairman and Mr. Chen. If she is really my girlfriend, why doesn't Mr. Chen, to announce her identity directly? She must be deliberately seducing her because of her beauty. When that person said a long sentence in a medium tone, many people present changed their expressions. A tall shadow pressed down on the top of the head, and the cold voice was hesitant and ice cold. What do I want to do that I need you to teach me? The man shrouded in shadow immediately covered his mouth with both hands, his body stiffened and he was speechless. Who is the supervisor? Yezikin asked, and the department supervisor immediately stood up. Yezikin glanced at the talkative gossip coldly. The company doesn't need talkative people. I don't want to see this person in the company in the future. End of this chapter.